So as we get started, I want to cut right to the chase and go into installation. I want to install our data just so you can see how it works, and then we're going to do an introduction. So if you're just interested in getting the data on your computer and to start working with it, we'll follow along right now. So the first thing we'll do is actually download our data. Then we're going to run some setup scripts, and then we're going to check the data. So you can either copy the data right from the link on the YouTube page, or if you're in my gisadvisor.com page, under the Analyzing COVID Data page, you can come down here and click the link that says Download Data, and it will download a file called covid.zip. And as I open up that file, you can see we can go into the folder, and we see a bunch of subfolders in there. But the first thing I'm going to do is have you just copy that file and paste it somewhere on your computer. And here's the data. It's all self-contained, and we'll go into the data structure a little bit later. But let's just get things started. I've got a batch file, a Windows batch file called Get Data. Just double-click that, and this is going to take a few minutes to run. And you can see it's running this. It's actually using a product called curl to bring in the data, prepare the data, and then it's going to start up the spatial database, or the SQLite database. Now that script took me about 2.5 minutes for it to complete and then bring up the SQLite graphical user interface. The reason it took a little while is because we were downloading data from the internet, all that countywide data, all that statewide data. So this is the general interface, and let me just test to make sure some of the data actually exists. So I'm going to type select star from daily and let's limit 100 records. And we'll run this. And you can see this is the daily information that comes in for COVID-19. And this is September 13th, 2020, and this is Alaska, Alabama, right, and so on. And you can see all the different records. So we have the data that's there. I've also got one called COVID County, and we'll look at that data a little while later too. But just to take a quick look, this is countywide data for each state, and again on a daily basis. In fact, I'm going to rerun this now and just say, let's order it by the date in descending order. So again, September 13th, 2020, and these are all the records of the cases and deaths and any new deaths that are in there. So that's it. We've got our data in, we've checked, the data is working. What I'm going to do next is take a deeper dive into where we get our data from, the software that we're going to use, and then some examples of questions we can ask. But if you're not interested in any of this, you can skip to our next video and we'll start working with the data. The first thing we're going to look at are the COVID data sources that we're going to use in this video tutorial. The first one is getting data from the COVID tracking project. And this provides access to all the data at national and statewide levels. And what we're interested in is looking at the state and current historical data. So if we click on here, this is the historic values for all the state data, and it's a comma-separated file. The other data we're using comes from the New York Times on their GitHub site. So they have information on all of the counties in the US, and that's updated every day. And then finally, we'll look at some of the software in the course. And we're going to be using something called curl. So this is just a small little executable that will grab the data off of those internet sites that we just looked at. We also have SQLite, which is basically using SQLite, which is an open source SQL database. But SQLite provides a nice little graphical user interface to it and allows us to perform geographic type queries as well. One of the things that we can look at are some specific queries. Just a question we might want to know is, what is the deaths for a particular state and county, in my case, Wicomico County in Maryland, where the date is between, say, March 19th and April 20th. And we can run that. And this gets me all the information about my county between those dates. Or if that's too granular, maybe I want to do it just for the state of Maryland. So it's a very similar query that we'll ask. And this tells me for each of the counties in the state of Maryland would have been the deaths between March 19th and April 20th. I can change this very easily and make this May 20th and make this April 19th. Run the test, and we have a different set of numbers. And here's one that's a little bit longer, but I used to live in New York, so I'm interested in looking at the differences between deaths in Nassau County, New York, as opposed to Suffolk County, New York, and I want to look at that based on weeks. So we can run that. So for each of the weeks that we've gone into the year of 2020, what kind of deaths have we seen in Nassau County in week 11 versus Suffolk County? And you can see the different values that I can then take that data and paste it for Nassau and Suffolk County. And then I can come in here and make an actual graph that shows me how Nassau County and Suffolk County compare in terms of their deaths per week. And by the way, look at this. This is a huge correction of some Nassau County data and Suffolk County. So obviously at this time, they made a few changes because they may have changed the caseload. So hopefully that gives you a general idea of what we're going to be doing with the data, both at the countywide and the statewide level. And we'll add some spatial things later. The next video, we're going to analyze the data a little bit closer. So we're going to take a deeper dive into the different data, and then those scripts that we like this get data, we're actually doing some pretty sophisticated things. So we're going to look at that and get a better understanding of what's actually happening. After that video, we're going to then start to dive into looking at basic SQL for statewide data and then basic SQL for countywide data. Now I'm going to be introducing more of these videos as we go on and we build upon this class. So please consider subscribing to the page, hit the like button, and also add some comments down below where you can talk about the kinds of questions you're interested in asking related to COVID-19 for where you live.